The first time I saw the text on her phone, my chest felt like it had been hollowed out. "I can't stop thinking about you," it read, followed by a string of emojis that made my stomach twist. I froze in the hallway outside our bedroom, trying to convince myself that maybe, just maybe, I was seeing things. But the way her thumb hovered over the screen when I asked casually, "Who's that?" told me everything. I had missed the signs, or maybe I had refused to see them. The late nights at work, the unexplained smiles at her phone, the new perfume I didn't recognize, small things I had brushed off. And now here it was, laid bare like a wound I hadn't known I was carrying. For weeks I wrestled with what to do. I wanted to scream, to rage, to demand the truth. But a part of me was terrified that if I did, I would destroy her, the woman I had loved since college, the one I thought was untouchable, the one who had promised me forever. Instead, I stayed silent, pretending everything was normal while my mind spun out of control. I remember one evening in particular. She came home late, smiling nervously, carrying groceries. I was in the kitchen, pretending to stir a pot of something I didn't care about. She set the bags down, leaned against the counter, and asked me about my day. I told her the truth in fragments, each word tasting like ash. She nodded, smiled, and for a brief second, I felt the old warmth of our love, the love that now seemed almost unreachable. The breaking point came when I found the messages again, this time on her laptop. I had a sick sense of dread as I scrolled, each sentence a hammer to my chest. Plans for secret dinners, jokes meant only for him, little moments of intimacy she no longer shared with me. My hand shook so violently that I had to sit down. And then in a small, almost casual line she had written, "I don't know if I can leave him, but I also can't stop thinking about him." It felt like my entire world had collapsed. I went to the bedroom, sat on the edge of the bed, and let the tears come. Not just for the betrayal, but for the years we had spent building something I thought was unbreakable. I hated myself for not seeing it sooner. I hated myself for letting my guard down. And most of all, I hated the part of me that still wanted to fight for her, even after everything. I didn't say anything that night. I went to bed hours later, pretending to sleep while she lay beside me, scrolling on her phone with the ease of someone who hadn't just shattered my heart. The next morning I made a decision. I couldn't force her to choose me, not if her heart had already strayed. But I could show her that I was still here, that I hadn't given up, and that I could be the person she once loved, maybe even more than before. I started small. A coffee waiting on the counter before she woke. Notes tucked into her purse. "Remember the day we met? You made me laugh like no one else ever could." Little gestures, not grand declarations. I wanted her to remember why we had fallen in love, to see the version of me that had always existed behind the hurt and anger. It wasn't easy. Every glance at her phone, every vague comment about a friend she had met for lunch, sent my mind spiraling. I had to fight the urge to accuse, to interrogate, to demand. Instead, I focused on the moments we shared. Quiet dinners, walks in the park, laughter that bubbled up in ways that surprised us both. Slowly I saw it, her hesitation. The way she lingered a little longer when our hands brushed. The way she laughed at my terrible jokes again. The way her eyes softened when she looked at me after a long day. I realized then that she hadn't left completely. Somewhere beneath the guilt and confusion, she still loved me. She just didn't know how to let go of the excitement of something new. One night, weeks later, she came to me with tears in her eyes. "I don't know why I ever thought I could risk this, us for him," she whispered, clutching my hand. "I was stupid, selfish, and I almost ruined everything." I held her close and let her cry, my own tears mixing with hers. For the first time in months, the tension that had gripped my chest began to release. I could feel her heart beating against mine, hesitant but real, like it was testing the waters before diving in. "I was ready to give up on us," I admitted quietly. "But I realized I couldn't. You're the love of my life, and if I had to fight to remind you of that, I would." It wasn't some grand confession that fixed everything. There was no miraculous moment of instant forgiveness. But there was honesty, vulnerability, and the willingness to rebuild the trust that had been fractured. And sometimes that was enough. In the weeks that followed, we went to therapy, we talked late into the night, and we relearned each other. Every gesture mattered, every word counted. Every glance was a reminder that love, true love, wasn't perfect. It was messy, complicated, and sometimes terrifyingly fragile. But it was worth fighting for. I still think about that moment when I saw the first text, the wave of pain and betrayal that nearly broke me. And I realize now that losing her, even temporarily, showed me just how much she meant to me, and what I was willing to do to win her back. It wasn't too late. And sometimes I think that's what makes the love we've rebuilt so much stronger, because it survived the darkest test. It can survive anything. I don't know what the future holds. Maybe the temptation will come again. Maybe mistakes will happen. But I do know this. We are still here together, and every day I wake up, I choose her again. And for the first time in a long time, it feels like forever is possible.